Hey Alex, how are you?
Good. How are you doing?
Not too bad. Hey, I'm sorry for being late. I was in the middle of another meeting that's just probably going to run another hour. So,
Oh, that's all good. You guys been staying busy through this whole quarantine situation?
yeah, I mean, we can't stop, right? We can't
Yeah.
shut things down. You can't, um, I mean, things do slow down. Obviously, we were trying to do a battery demo today, but uh, trying to work out the logistics between six people that are spread apart throughout the Phoenix area, right, and trying to get things built when we can't be in the same room together can be challenging.
Definitely. Yeah. Do you guys still have people in the lab working and stuff, or?
No, we have one person that's kind of at the office typically every single day, and then what we'll do is if someone needs to be there, they'll go in either after hours or throughout the day, whatever it is. But typically, there's only one, maybe two people in the office at the most at any given time.
Gotcha. Well, I watched your battery day, and that's actually kind of what introduced me to Atlas and prompted me to kind of set up this interview. And just wanted to applaud you guys for, I think you mentioned you guys are working on creating face shields and masks and stuff for people. So I know
Yeah,
a lot of healthcare professionals definitely appreciate that. So,
yeah. I mean, in this time, it's everyone's responsibility to kind of step up and do what you can, and we have the fortunate ability to be able to help at least in that way. So if that's what we can do, then that's what we'll do.
yeah, yeah, we definitely appreciate it. Yeah, also battery day. Love the whiteboard you had up. Definitely very, very engineering. Loved how you were able to explain all that using a whiteboard. Um,
Yeah, that's kind of my thing. I when I do presentations and stuff like that, I really don't like doing PowerPoint. I don't like doing predetermined presentations. I really love if I have a whiteboard behind me, which it's actually that one that we were doing the presentation on. I love having the ability, right, to write stuff and talk through it and go through it like that way rather than like something that feels very marketing and very
yeah,
sort of, flashy.
yeah, definitely. And did you get your started as an engineer and then kind of worked into this role?
Yeah, so I graduated from the best university in Tempe, Arizona, Arizona State University,
Okay,
as a mechanical engineer.
nice.
And I started my career as an engineer working on all sorts of different things. From some very cool, I used to work for a company called Axon,
Okay, yeah,
and used to be called Taser before that, Taser International. When I graduated college, I did some cool things in kind of life-saving weapons technologies. So I actually worked on a project where I designed a 12 gauge taser projectile called an X-Rep.
okay.
So think like a taser device that law enforcement carries today in a little 2 3/4 inch shotgun shell.
Oh wow, huh?
So self-contained battery, it flies through the air, it's stabilized, it has smart electronics, like does all this crazy stuff. That was the first thing I got to do out of college, and it was a ton of fun. And being a college graduate, right, you leave and you know absolutely nothing
Yep.
about the world. And I had to learn how to be an engineer, learn how to design products, learn how to manufacture products, and learn how to actually manage programs and suppliers and all that stuff. We were sometimes a one-man team, sometimes a three-man team, and that was it. That was the whole team basically working on it outside of some of the other sort of sales, marketing, and some of the supply chain stuff. But it was a small group. It was a ton of fun, but got to basically learn everything about product development, launching a product, and all of the risk associated with it as well.
Yeah,
It's a very
definitely.
dangerous product.
Gotcha. And what about that kind of prompted you to start Atlas and get this whole thing started?
Yeah, so I've always been interested in vehicles. I've always been interested in what's possible in the world. I'm a tinkerer at home, of course,
Hmm.
but I've always been completely dissatisfied with the ownership experience and what a vehicle is really. It's a tool, right? It's meant to be driven, but the ownership experience of kind of owning a vehicle is very cumbersome. When you first buy a brand new vehicle, it's very nice, right? You have a warranty and you have, things are covered and you work with a dealership and they're typically very nice, right, at
Yeah,
that point in time. But over time, that experience sort of progressively gets worse.
definitely. Yeah.
Uh, and there's also that disconnect, right, between you and the actual sort of manufacturing company like GM, Ford, Mercedes, BMW, they have no direct connection with their customer.
Yeah.
It's all done through the dealer network. So your experience is really dependent on that end sale customer, and it can be super positive or it can be super negative. And what I saw was an opportunity to use electrification and bring some business models and practices that we actually employed at Axon in terms of customer development and product ecosystems and what's possible there, and how we can take that sort of model, which is completely outside the automotive industry, and bring it in here. And then the other side of it is, I'm a truck guy. I own a big, diesel truck.
Yeah.
We also own a Model 3.
Okay. That's what I own as well, actually.
Yeah, so I see both sides of it, but I'm a big fan of trucks and what they can do, that utility aspect of it, that ability to actually do some work with it outside of just commuting to and from work.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, and I think that's what a lot of companies miss is we see Rivian kind of creating that adventure vehicle, Tesla with their Cybertruck. Nobody's really built a working truck per se. Do you think that's kind of what makes your company special?
Yeah, I think our focus is really on that very specific segment, and the pickup truck is our kind of market entry into that world. It's focusing on, we can get into agriculture, we can get into construction, we can do mining, we can do utilities, we can do all sorts of different things that really encompasses work. But I think in the electrification world, a lot of newcomers they're willing to play it very safe. They're willing to just do what Tesla has already done and maybe apply it to like adventure, right? Or commuter or something like that. I was really looking for an opportunity to leverage the technology, develop something new that makes it very compelling, like battery technology, and solve a problem there. And how can we apply that to an industry that can truly leverage that new technology to bring something new, to make the world better, to change? And the work segment of that, the idea of the utility side of that and what you can do with it, I think is this concept that people shy away from. It's too dangerous, it's too risky, right? You're going after trucks that tow 35,000 pounds. Why do that? Well, battery technology can't do that. Well, it actually can. You just have to be bold enough to not accept what someone else tells you is possible and go after that. And that's what excites me, because once we do that, where we go from there is very, very exciting.
So is that what kind of prompted you to create, I guess it's proprietary technology for you guys, instead of going after like LG or something like that that's already making batteries, actually create your own in-house and then get someone else to produce it for you?
Yeah, so I actually started with conversations with LG and Panasonic, started with a number of battery manufacturers that I've worked with that are kind of in the smaller level, or some that actually work with LG or work with Panasonic and build their cells as like an overflow capacity. And working with those vendors, it started off with what is possible, right? So here's a list of things that you have to do, and can you achieve any of these things? Which ones can't you do? And the most obvious one is it takes an hour, right, to charge a vehicle, maybe down to 20 something minutes, right, for 80% of the capacity. So, but if the customer experiences, listen, we need 15 minutes, because when you tow, like I mentioned in the battery day, your range drops. And if the line in the sand is 15 minutes, then we need to figure out how to do that. And if the existing like battery cell vendors, their typical response is no one else is asking for that, no one else is doing that, so we are not going to put effort into that until someone else says they have to do it, and then we'll work with you.
Gotcha.
And I'm not a big fan of being told no. So if they're not willing to do it, then we'll figure out a way to work the problem and come up with a solution.
Gotcha. Is there a reason you've stuck with, I guess, do you foresee any issues with sticking with lithium-ion technology right now, or do you think you'll eventually jump into some other technology as that kind of progresses?
So I think you have to be open to the possibility of advancements. There's a lot of money being put into battery technology, energy storage technology. I don't think I'm not a fan of hydrogen. I think I think money invested in hydrogen technology is not money well spent.
Yeah,
Because
I'm on the same boat there.
right, but there's solid state technology, and there's actually different forms of that as well. There's other sort of lithium based technologies that are out there that are in development. There may be something that I'm not aware of that's coming out that's maybe not a lithium-based solution. And you have to be open to the possibility of that, but you also have to plan for that. You have to say, listen, we could launch tomorrow, and then the very next day, you're obsolete. Mm-hmm. That what you've done, it doesn't necessarily bring value. So what we need to make sure that we're doing is bringing value continuously over time, and have the ability to very rapidly adapt or accept those new technologies. So that means when we build this vehicle or we're building this technology or the charging technology or whatever it is, that we're building it in such a way that we can very rapidly move without having to do 7-year model turns.
Yeah. So you talked a lot about the temperature management system at Battery Day. Mm-hmm. How much did you look into? I'm guessing you did a lot, but how much did you look into how much that added weight and kind of complexity affects the actual battery system, and how does it affect range and all that kind of stuff?
Yeah, so that's a big component of it is if we're adding mass to the system, then we're decreasing range, we're adding additional work that has to be done. So a great amount of care is being taken today, right, to ensure that if we're going to introduce a new system, that we don't add mass, we don't add complexity, we don't, like, anytime you introduce a new sort of technology solution, you can't, the objective should never be to add additional problems mm-hmm. to the problem set. You don't want to introduce a new problem that's maybe already solved. So a great deal of care is taken into how we architect the system, how we design and build the system in such a way that we're actually not adding complexity, we're reducing complexity.
Okay.
So when we think about existing cooling systems that are used in like Tesla's, Rivians that they've showed off, Audi, Porsche, right, Volkswagen, Jaguar, all of the GM, there's a lot of moving parts, there's a lot of connections, there's a lot of complexity in those systems. So and we started with actually a very complex system. And one of the engineers that was working with me very early on, he came back and he said, listen, this is all great and it's working, but why don't we just like take all this stuff away and just do this one simple thing that accomplishes the same task? And that was like brilliance right there. That's this idea of, listen, we can do the same thing, but we can do it with 100th of the number of parts.
Gotcha.
So that's what we're trying to do here.
Gotcha. So you make some pretty big claims about range and battery charging times. How confident are you that you guys will actually be able to bring all that to market and meet those times and ranges that you guys have projected?
So in terms of, we'll cover the easy ones first, which is range and towing and stuff like that. Those are not projection numbers. Those are requirements. Those are things that we will hit. And we have to find ways to do that. And we're doing that today. So whether or not we hit those or not is not really a question of can we hit those. I never approach a problem of like, let's design it and see what it can do. It's always, this is what it must do. And therefore we work to get to that point.
That's the goal. Yeah.
Yeah. That is something that is not a questionable thing. It's something that will happen. In terms of the battery charging and hitting the 15-minute charge time and doing that reliably and doing that for a long period of time for a large number of cycles and things like that, again, that's a requirement. That's something we have to do. Now, if we fall short of, let's say we hit 15-minute charge times and everything else, that we will do. I'm very confident that that's going to happen. But let's say we fall short of, say, 2,000 cycles in the end product and we hit 1,500 cycles. In terms of longevity of it. If that's the case, the requirement or the promise that we're making is that we hit a certain level of performance over a period of time. Mm-hmm. Therefore, we have to implement a design characteristic that allows us to overcome that gap.
Okay.
So, and meet all the price targets and all of this other stuff. And
Yeah.
a lot of people will tell you that, well, you can't do all those things. You need to make those cuts today. You don't know if you can do something until you kind of get off your butt and try.
Go try it. Yeah.
And whatever obstacle is in your way, find a way to solve that.
So I think you mentioned on Batter Day as well, you're doing a completely drive and steer-by-wire system.
Right.
As far as I know, I don't think it's legal to have a steer-by-wire system. Do you foresee any kind of legal troubles in the future trying to do that, or how are you guys overcoming that?
No. In Europe, it's actually there's a number of companies that have certified systems that are actually able to do that. And
okay.
Here in the U.S., there are specialty vehicles where steer-by-wire and drive-by-wire is actually allowed. Typically, it's for disabled applications, right?
Oh,
So
okay.
individuals
that
that can't do certain things. It's employed heavily in equipment, right? Tractors or
true,
heavy
yeah.
equipment and stuff like that. So it's not necessarily crazy new technology.
Yeah.
There's other companies that are also sort of pioneering this move from the supply chain side, and then the implementation side. You'll see that in like Canoe's product, right? It's a complete drive-by-wire, steer-by-wire system. So I don't foresee any regulation hurdles being able to get there. And if you go through the regulations, there are certain caveats for drive-by-wire systems in terms of redundancy and capability. If X fails, must be able to do this. If does,
Okay.
so we have to make sure we meet all those requirements and go above that. I'm never a fan of like bare minimum, right? There's a certain expectation from a customer that we have to be able to accomplish. That's what we aim for. We don't aim for a bare minimum that somebody wrote in a regulation. There should be something above that. And being
Yeah.
a startup, we can't afford failure.
No, definitely. So I was looking through some of the pictures and stuff on your website. How close do you think the final like aesthetic of the vehicle will be to those photos? Are those mock-ups or are those actual photos of the truck?
Those are mock-ups of everything, or they're renders, designs, drawings. There's some physical mock-ups and stuff that are built up and things like that. This is a tricky question because a lot of people loved the red truck that we did. They loved the next design iteration of that. They loved this iteration of that. I will tell you that there is another iteration of the truck coming.
Okay.
And we take feedback from our customer base very, very seriously. And if we feel like as we sort of progress, we're trending down, then we need to make a correction. And we're in a position to make that correction today. We're early enough that we can do that.
Definitely.
We're never fans of saying, well, we're too far along, we should just like do this. If something doesn't feel right, if something doesn't appear to be correct, we need to fix that, and that's what we're doing right now.
Definitely. Are most of your customers on the commercial side, or are they more retail customers?
So we have a mix of both. I would say that most of our reservations are commercial customers that may be individual owners.
Okay.
So think of an individual that works on contract for whatever field that they're potentially in, and they own a truck, right? And they typically use that truck for the work that they're contracted to do.
Gotcha.
And there's various different fields that they're in today. We do have a good number of individual buyers very interested in the truck, because not to commute to and from work, but because of what we're shooting for, the towing and hauling capabilities. Because there are people that own fifth wheels, there are people that own horse trailers, there are people that own ATVs and quads and all the fun toys, and they want something that'll allow them to tow that vehicle, right, or that whatever that toy is,
Yeah.
right, to wherever they're going to go and play. So we have a good chunk of customers like that, and then we have a number of fleet customers that are looking for very large deployments
Okay.
of vehicles that typically start with like one or two, maybe a few. And then it sort of progressively grows from there once they've proven out that the solution works for them.
Gotcha. So you're kind of working on, I think you mentioned this on Batter Day as well, your battery is kind of the main focus right now, is to get that in production, ready to go, and then kind of where's the next steps from that?
So the primary focus is the battery pack system right now. That's the big value proposition that we bring beyond anything else. The next thing is the XP platform, which is 80% of what the vehicle is. So unlike traditional sort of vehicles and architectures, we are incorporating as much as we possibly can into that skateboard platform, such that we can do a number of different vehicle configurations with very minimal development and impacts to timeline. So it's the battery, the platform. We have a number of customers that want the platform today. They want to do vehicle upfits in delivery RV scenarios or aftermarket scenarios or whatever that particular case is, including like vocational vehicles. So it's battery, platform, then the truck. And unfortunately, we know everybody loves the truck, right? That's that sexy, cool thing you can touch.
Yeah.
But the underpinnings of all of what that truck can do is really in the battery and the platform. So we need to get those right first.
Definitely. This will be my last question. Where do you yourself kind of see the future of the auto industry from here? Do you see completely electrified, or is it going to be a mix of all the different fuels we're kind of working with now?
No, no to the latter. It's going to be completely electrified to some point. Now, the energy storage system, like we talked about early on, might change, right? It might move away from lithium ion to something else.
Yeah, something else.
I don't think we'll see liquid or gas fuels or any kind of fuel like that. It doesn't make sense to do that. Moving towards a greener sort of picture of the world and renewable energy, wind, solar, whatever it is coming on board. Maybe in the future there's some fusion aspect of that, right? But I actually do believe in the fact that I live in a house that my home will be self-powered in the next 5 to 10 years. Very similar to what Tesla has been doing with the solar systems and in-home battery solutions. I think the future of the world is a combination of small sort of grid circuit or small like isolated power generation that's micro grids, I guess is the appropriate term, and it's going to be renewable. And then it purely just makes sense that the vehicle, whether it's air, train, or air rail, right, road going, or individual flying vehicles, which I don't necessarily think that's a great idea, but all of that will essentially be electric powered in some way until some new technology comes on board that makes, say, the concept of using magnetism and things like that to turn something becomes obsolete.
Yeah.
And I don't know what that might actually be, but I think the days of consuming a fuel is gone. I think the future will be you will basically pay for the opportunity to use electricity. You may not even pay for the consumption of it anymore.
Yeah, that's a good outlook to have. Cool. So for anybody watching, what's the best way for them to get involved with the company or check out more about your vehicles?
Yeah, so you can check us out on social media. We're on Facebook, Atlis Motor Vehicles, Instagram. Those are really great ways to get the latest updates, see little posts and stuff like that, stories and things like that. If you want more information about the company, send us an email to info@atlismotorvehicles.com. That's a great way to get some more information from us, and you can sometimes you can even schedule a call with me. I'm more than happy to talk to anybody. Just follow along. We're making progress and we're growing. It's going to be some fun times in the future.
Cool. Well, appreciate your time today. I know you guys are definitely very busy, so definitely appreciate it.
Yeah, not a problem. Thank you.
Cool. Take care.
Take care.